All right, welcome to this explainer. I'm so glad you're here. We are jumping right into things today because, honestly, we're looking at two apex predators that just completely shatter all our expectations of the natural world. If you think you've got big cats and scavengers all figured out, well, prepare to have those assumptions totally flipped upside down. Today, we're unpacking a biological thriller. It's one that spans all the way from the freezing depths of the Ice Age straight to the blistering heat of modern South American wetlands. So picture this. How on earth does an aquatic animal end up as prey deep inside the jungle? Aside from polar bears, there is literally only one other land animal known to hunt cetaceans. Whales and dolphins. Back in 2024, researchers down in northern Brazil stumbled across something wild. They found tracks showing that a fresh Araguayan river dolphin had been dragged 30 meters from the water's edge right into the thick forest. And when they checked the bones, they found this very specific, honestly terrifying bite mark on the skull. Who could have done this? Well, we'll get to our culprit in just a second. But first, I've got to show you another mystery that had scientists scratching their heads over a century ago.
Okay, rewind to the early 1800s. There was this discovery that was just geographically absurd, and it totally baffled scientists. Miners up in the north of England cracked open a limestone quarry known as Kirkdale Cave. But inside, it wasn't full of cow or sheep bones like you'd expect. No, it was packed to the brim with the massive bones of rhinos, hippos, and elephants. I mean, how do African megafauna end up in Yorkshire? At the time, locals, and honestly even some naturalists, blamed the biblical flood. They just assumed these exotic animals washed up onto British shores. But here's the catch. The bones had gnaw marks on them. Something had been eating them.
To solve both of these mysteries, here is our roadmap for the day. First, we'll look at rule-breaking apex predators. Then, bizarre habitats and behaviors. Third, extreme hunters and scavengers. Fourth, giant Ice Age ancestors. And finally, extinction versus ultimate survival.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Rule-Breaking Apex Predators.
So back to our first mystery, the culprit. It's the jaguar. And this magnificent big cat isn't just, taking a quick dip to cool off. They're actively hunting in the water. See, the Araguayan river dolphins have this unique local fishing habit where they drive schools of fish into the shallows. It makes a ton of splashing and exposes their bodies. Jaguars are naturally drawn to the sound of loud splashes, usually looking for capybaras. But they've learned to completely exploit this dolphin behavior. They literally run into the shallows and leap directly onto the dolphins. It's just a stunning, game-changing display of predatory adaptability. But okay, what about those massive rhinos in the English cave? The answer to that English mystery came from a pioneering geologist named William Buckland. Buckland noticed these hard, white, chalky lumps alongside the bones in Kirkdale Cave. He suspected hyenas because they're uniquely capable of crushing and digesting bone, which actually makes their calcium-rich feces turn white. So Buckland does something incredible. He literally acquires a live hyena from a traveling zoo, feeds it part of a cow, and just waits. And guess what? The fresh hyena feces perfectly matched the fossilized lumps found in the cave. This conclusively proved that an extinct species of giant cave hyena was actively living, hunting, and crushing bones right there in Ice Age England. Moving on to Section 2, Bizarre Habitats and Behaviors. When you look at the Pantanal jaguar, their diet gets incredibly strange. We're talking about the largest wetland in the world here, and just look at these numbers. 55% of their scat contained marine reptiles, mostly caiman, and an astonishing 46% contained fish remains. Only 11% had mammals in it. These jaguars have embraced a completely aquatic lifestyle. They're out there catching catfish and piranha, and they're even capable of hunting while completely submerged underwater. I mean, no way, right? Meanwhile, the cave hyena's adaptability was all about geography. They dominated this massive biome known as the steppe tundra. They thrived in Ice Age England, where winter temps would easily drop below -20 degrees Celsius. Yet, amazingly, their fossils have also been found as far south as Thailand and Cambodia. They were actually living in hot, seasonal grasslands right alongside tigers and Asiatic black bears. So from freezing glaciers to tropical dry forests, the cave hyena was just a ubiquitous force of nature. The crucial takeaway here is that adaptability pushes animals to perform incredible physical feats. Just take this number, 1.3 kilometers. Back in 2020, a camera trap caught a male jaguar prowling around an island in a Brazilian reservoir. Now, to get there, he had to swim at least 1.3 kilometers. That is the longest confirmed swim of any wildcat species ever.
And because of how the islands are laid out, he might have even swam 2.3 kilometers in a single stretch. Of course, to support these bizarre diets in extreme environments, both of these predators had to evolve some seriously intense hardware. Which brings us to Section 3, Extreme Hunters and Scavengers. Let's talk about the jaguar's bite. They have the highest bite force relative to body size of any big cat in the world. And they pull this off through some extreme anatomy. They've got this massive sagittal crest, that's the bone running down the top center of the skull where the jaw muscles anchor, and it is way more prominent than what you'd see in lions or tigers. Combine that with a shorter snout, which gives them incredible mechanical leverage, and you essentially have a walking skull crusher. While most big cats go for the throat to suffocate their prey, jaguars ambush massive caimans and literally crush the back of their skulls with a single bite. It's brutal, but it works. Now, let's compare our modern spotted hyena to the ancient cave hyena. Modern spotted hyenas are actually highly effective pack hunters with really complex social clans. But when we look at brain casts of the cave hyena, they had a smaller forebrain, which is the area that controls advanced social behavior. So they were likely solitary. They also had thicker, shorter, and slightly curved limbs, which made them a bit slower. Basically, they were the ultimate scavengers. They dragged massive carcasses back to their caves to crush the bones that their ancestors had left behind. Oh, and they were huge. Speaking of huge, let's talk about sheer size. 140 kilograms. To put that into perspective, that was the weight of an exceptionally large male Pantanal jaguar that researchers tagged and nicknamed Joker. Because the Pantanal wetlands are absolutely crawling with millions of caimans, these jaguars have this endless, massive food supply. Exploiting that buffet has allowed them to grow into the third largest big cats in the world, with Joker measuring up to 2.5 meters long. But, if you think a 140-kilogram jaguar is intimidating, just wait until we look at their ancestors. That takes us to Section 4, Giant Ice Age Ancestors. The jaguar's family tree is a giant, complicated puzzle. Big cats actually evolved in Tibet around 5 million years ago. Then, the ancestors of modern jaguars migrated across the Bering Strait through Alaska during the Ice Age when sea levels were low, stepping foot into North America over 850,000 years ago. For a long time, they were incredibly common all across the United States. And as they continued that epic migration all the way down to the southern tip of South America, they adapted into something truly terrifying. Meet the Patagonian panther. During the last ice age, jaguars colonized the freezing, wide-open grasslands of Patagonia at the very bottom of South America. These guys were living in 0-degree weather and grew to be almost twice the size of a modern jaguar. We're talking tiger-sized here. And we know from fossilized caves that these giants weren't hunting small stuff. They were taking down half-ton giant sloths and prehistoric horses. But here is the absolute wildest part. For a long time, scientists assumed the giant jaguars found in North America and Patagonia were completely separate species. But nope, recent genetic testing of a 12,000-year-old fossil from a cave in Georgia proved that its DNA falls right squarely within the diversity range of modern jaguars. They weren't a different species at all. They were literally just regular jaguars that bulked up and morphed into giants because the climate was colder and they had an all-you-can-eat buffet of giant Ice Age megafauna. Their genetic plasticity is just astounding. And finally, Section 5, Extinction versus Ultimate Survival. For the massive cave hyena, the changing climate was quite literally a death sentence. Around 15,000 years ago, global temperatures began to warm. That massive dry steppe tundra that spanned continents, it started to shrink, getting replaced by dense woodlands and shrubs. As a result, the vast herds of Ice Age mammals that the hyenas relied on for scavenging rapidly declined. Add in some intense competition and conflict with early humans over cave spaces and food, and the massive cave hyena was eventually driven to total extinction. Which leaves us with a pretty big paradox. The cave hyena died out, the giant Patagonian panther variants died out, the giant North American jaguars died out. So how on earth did the modern jaguar manage to survive the end of the Ice Age when so many other apex predators just completely vanished? Well, the answer is supreme, unmatched adaptability. Mesoamerican cultures actually revered jaguars as these liminal creatures, masters of multiple realms, like land, trees, and water. And science absolutely backs this up. Today, jaguars survive in the blisteringly dry deserts of northern Mexico, acting almost like mountain lions, while simultaneously living as aquatic titans down in the Pantanal wetlands. Studies even show that if large prey vanishes, a jaguar can instantly shift its diet so that 90% of it is small animals like
iguanas, birds, and monkeys. They don't specialize themselves into a corner, they master literally whatever environment is thrown at them. But that does leave us with one final pretty sobering thought. The jaguar's range used to stretch all the way from California down to Chile. Today, human encroachment is fracturing those habitats, trapping these highly adaptable creatures into smaller, isolated pockets. They survived the end of the Ice Age by constantly migrating and changing their diets. But when the forests are cut down and the rivers are dammed up, the question remains, will the jaguar's legendary adaptability be enough to save it from suffering the exact same fate as the cave hyena? Thank you so much for exploring these incredible, rule-breaking predators with me today on this explainer. Catch you next time.